That period of time in the mid 70s was kind of a strange transition time in rock and roll, because it was sort of post a lot of big bands like Zeppelin and all these kind of acts that were doing huge business, and they were sort of starting to come off the road at that time. And so if you were a young band starting out, you had to hope to get on a big tour or play one of these clubs, you know, like the Agora. And so they were, even though they felt like clubs, they were more than clubs. You could sort of do a concert vibe, even though it was a kind of club atmosphere.
And the beauty of these places was that bands that were up and coming really got to learn their craft.
And the best place to learn your craft is by playing small venues and getting out there and sweating for a couple hours
in front of a drunk audience.
Yeah. So I think really there's a real lack of those places in the world.
Yeah, I think for the most part they've disappeared.
Playing bars and then going into places like the Agora or the Electric Ballroom, those are the places where I learned my craft. And you went from there to third on the bill in an auditorium. Then you went to special guest, then you went to headliner. By the time you headlined, by God, you knew how to do it. So without those clubs and without those small theaters, I think a lot of the people who you see today and who have held up over decades wouldn't exist. The difference between what comes out now and what came out then is having the time to learn your craft. And that's what places like the Agora did.
Play in like a arena or something like that, you know, there's a detachment that happens. And even though, you know, playing the US Festival for 125,000 people was amazingly exciting, it was a little bit like a dream, you know, sort of dreamlike, you know. They're over there and we're over here. And playing in a club is the exact opposite. It's like we've all gotten in the same elevator, and you know, we're trapped in this elevator for a while together.
You need these individuals in these towns to put themselves on the line, to create a place to break acts. I mean, you can't just go straight to the top, you know, you're dependent on the mercy of others, so to speak. So you need these guys in these towns that are bold enough to open a small club, and because that's a struggle too, you know, to make it work. The benefit that they have is they realize that there are a lot of opening acts bouncing around the country that need gigs in between gigs. You know, they don't always follow along the schedule of a headliner, so they got a day off to a young band is money going down the drain, right? Because you're making so little that you have to find ways of paying your hotel bills. So it's people like Hank LeConte and Alex Cooley and all these guys. They benefited, but the bands benefited.
Promoters back then were different than today, because most regional promoters over time got absorbed and bought out by Live Nation. AEG, you have companies who took over, whereas there was a time where each city was synonymous with a promoter. And you had Hank LeConte, you had Alex Cooley in Atlanta and Georgia, you had Bill Graham. You had a real personal relationship with all of them.
In the early days of touring, the promoter would come out and he would greet you. You'd have a conversation. He would actually be there. This is before corporate took over everything and the numbers crunchers would show up, and sometimes you just show up and you see the stagehands and you never meet and greet the people responsible for putting on the show. But in those days, you knew them by name, you knew them by their first name. When their kids, you know, got bar mitzvah or married or whatever, you'd send them gifts. It was a relationship because you were all there to put on a show, all for the kids that showed up. That sadly is missing. It was a very, very special time when everybody took pride in what they did. That's a term that's not often used anymore. Pride in your craftsmanship and whatever you do, whether you're a promoter or whether you're a stagehand or whether you spit fire and wear higher heels and more makeup than your mommy.